Thanks to Deputy Doherty and Sinn Féin for bringing forward this motion on the mortgage interest hikes that are inflicting extraordinary hardship and suffering on tens and tens of thousands of homeowners and mortgage holders being crippled with these 10 hikes over a short period of time, and for many putting them into a completely unsustainable situation about which the government has done absolutely nothing to alleviate the suffering and hardship that they're facing. And while you know, there's so much we can say in here, I want to say in all honesty to those who are impacted by the mortgage hike crisis, and all those being affected by the cost of living crisis, whether it's energy price hikes, the hikes in the cost of groceries, the rocketing rents that for many are now completely unaffordable for those who've been driven into homelessness with this cost of living and housing crisis. I honestly believe that the best way to put pressure on the government in advance of this budget is to get out on the streets on the Cost of Living Coalition demonstration on October the 7th, where students, trade unionists, pensioners groups, housing advocacy groups and many, many more will be coming out on the streets to try and demand the action that is necessary from this government, which they have so far refused to take. And of course, the elephant in the room when it comes to, in the broad terms, the cost of living and housing crisis is the hardship and suffering being suffered by mortgage holders, by people trying to pay their bills, by people affected by the housing crisis, but on the other side, super profits being recorded by the banks and the vulture funds. Obscene profits, staggering profits. The Bank of Ireland's pre-tax profits this year up 138%. Absolutely extraordinary. Bank of Ireland, Permanent TSB, Allied Irish Bank, €4 billion in profits in the first 6 months of this year. And we see a similar picture when it comes to the energy companies. I mean, it was in 2021 we were all shocked by the increase in ESB profits to 679 million, only to see that last year they had gone up to 847 million, and this year they're going to go up even more. So while people are crucified, we are seeing bonanza, a profits bonanza being enjoyed by the energy companies, by the banks, by the big supermarket chains, by the corporate landlords and developers, and in general, the corporate sector. A quadrupling of corporate profits over the last 10 years, while ordinary people, some estimates would put average workers as down in real terms by about €10,000 a year. And I'll just give you an example of a taxi driver who was messaging me before this meeting, who is with a vulture fund. And he is now paying an interest rate of over 8%, so his payments have gone up by €500 a month. That's €6,000 in the year. And that's on top of then all of the other price hikes that we're talking about. And there are tens of thousands of people now in that situation, absolutely crucified because of the disgraceful decision to allow the banks that we bailed out to sell off at a discount price to these vulture funds tens of thousands of mortgages, and these people now crucifying people with the able assistance of the European Central Bank, hiking up interest rates and crucifying people supposedly to keep inflation down. But of course, if you're a mortgage holder, it's inflation going up. It's not going down, it's going up as you're being forced to pay €400, €500, €600 extra a month in mortgage interest payments. So, €1,500 mortgage interest relief that Sinn Féin are proposing obviously would be welcome relief in that context, but to be honest, we believe we should go further, and that's why we've put an amendment. We think there needs to be caps put on mortgage interest rates to stop the profiteering of the banks, and we have put forward a bill to that effect. We also think the vulture funds should be driven out of the Irish market, just driven out. All of those loans that never should have been sold to them now should be reintegrated into the mainstream system and in fact taken over. We still have a majority shareholding in AIB and permanent TSB. These should become public not-for-profit banks and reintegrate those loans into a public banking system where people will be given sustainable rates of interest and restructures that they can actually manage, that will ensure they can keep the roof over their head and they are not being crucified in the interest of banking profits or other corporate profit-hungry interests. And those things can and should be done. I doubt the government is going to do it because in the end this government seems more interested in protecting the banks and the big corporate interest. I asked Gabriel McClough at the Finance Committee today, why couldn't we put mortgage interest caps on? He said, oh, because it would affect competition in the market. We mightn't be able to attract more banks in. And I said to him, I just can't believe that logic when you think about what competition meant during the Celtic Tiger. All the banks and vulture funds and non-bank entities coming in. Did competition make things better? No, it caused a catastrophic crash. And similarly, these vulture funds, what they're doing now is just ripping people off. They add absolutely nothing to the banking sector.